Right now, the world is holding its breath, and it's all because of one narrow strip of water, the Strait of Hormuz. What kicked off as a regional problem back in late February 2026 has absolutely exploded into a global crisis. So we're going to break down exactly what is happening, who the big players are, and why this is way more complicated than it looks. First, let's just get our heads around the scale of this. More than a fifth of all the world's oil flows through this strait. And for over a month now, it's been basically shut down. I mean, traffic is down a staggering 95%. The shockwaves from this are hitting every corner of the globe. And honestly, they're getting worse every single day. So after a month of this really tense standoff, something finally changed. On April 4th, for the very first time since this whole thing started, a couple of commercial ships with Western ties actually made it through. But the big question is, how on earth did they do it? And more importantly, does this mean the crisis is finally winding down? And that gets us right to the heart of what's happening right now. Let me be clear, this is not a sign that the crisis is over, not even close. This is the story of two ships taking an unbelievable gamble in what is still very, very much a hot zone. Okay, so these are the two vessels at the center of all the drama. A French container ship, the CMA-CGM Kribi, and a Japanese tanker, the Sohar LNG. You can think of them as test cases, or maybe even guinea pigs. They're the first ones to try and make this run. And you can bet there are dozens of other ships stuck nearby, just watching and waiting to see if they make it. So does this mean Iran backed down? No way. It looks like these ships got through by paying what some analysts are calling the Tehran Toll Booth. It's this unofficial system where Iran basically just handpicks who gets to pass. See, this isn't a reopening of the strait. It's a power play. Iran is trying to rewrite the rules, and it begs the question, is this a temporary tactic or a permanent new tax on global trade? And this just shows you how incredibly dangerous it still is out there. I mean, this was not a normal trip. The ships had to turn off their transponders, go ghost, to sneak through the riskiest areas. And get this, the French ship was broadcasting Owner France on its public signal. A really clever move to basically shout at any Iranian forces, hey, we're French, we're not the ones you're looking for. This isn't a safe passage. It's a high-wire act, plain and simple. Okay, but if the situation is that bad, why isn't a huge Western alliance just sailing in there to open the street back up? Well, to understand why nothing's happening, you have to look at Europe. Because right now, Europe is in survival mode, not war mode. And there are three really big reasons for that. First up, the sheer economic pain. Just look at this chart. European gas prices have shot up from about 32 euros per megawatt hour to over 50. And that's not just some abstract number. That hits every single household and every business right in the wallet. And you can see that pain right here at the gas station. In a place like Germany, an economic powerhouse, petrol is now over 2 euros and 30 cents a liter. When it costs that much just to fill up your car to get to work, the political pressure on leaders to not make things worse becomes massive. And here's the crucial part. European governments are already completely tapped out. They've already spent an incredible 680 billion euros just on subsidies to keep energy bills down and prevent riots in the streets. There's simply no financial oxygen left in the room to go fund a major war. The second reason? Public opinion. The people of Europe are overwhelmingly against getting involved militarily. In countries like Spain and Italy, a whopping 70% are against intervention. You know, they see this as somebody else's fight, and they are terrified of becoming a direct target for Iranian attacks. And the third reason is just cold, hard military reality. It all boils down to what people are calling Ukraine exhaustion. After sending years of weapons and money to help Ukraine fight Russia, Europe's own ammunition cupboards are looking pretty bare. Their armies are busy trying to rebuild, not looking to open up a brand new front in the Persian Gulf. So Europe's hesitation is a huge piece of this puzzle, but it's part of an even bigger global picture. The world is not on the same page at all about how to deal with this. In fact, you can really see three totally different camps emerging. And yeah, this fracture into three distinct camps, it explains pretty much everything, especially why the United States is finding itself so isolated in its tougher, more aggressive position.
So first, you've got the supportive but scared camp. These are the Gulf nations, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. They're desperate to see Iran put in its place, but they're also right there on the front line, already getting hit by drones and missiles. This quote just says it all. We agree with you, but please don't involve us because we're the ones who will burn. They support the goal, but they will not let the U.S. launch strikes from their territory.
Camp number 2 is the refusal camp. This is basically Europe and key partners in Asia, like Japan, and you can see the total disconnect in their goals. While Washington is talking about a big military breakout to reassert dominance, this camp has a much simpler goal: just get the oil flowing again, preferably through talking. For them, this is all about energy security, not about changing the regime in Iran.
And finally, we have the opportunists. No surprise here, China and Russia. China is playing a brilliant double game. It's officially neutral, which lets its own ships get through, while also setting itself up as the one who can mediate a peace deal. And Russia? Well, Russia is more than happy to just grab some popcorn and watch the U.S. get stuck in another messy Middle East conflict that drains its money and attention. So all of this leads to the real heart of the crisis. The Western alliance itself is cracking. As one analyst put it so perfectly, right now, the United States is facing this fight with an audience rather than an alliance. In fact, America's allies are now actually creating their own separate path forward. With NATO totally paralyzed by arguments, the UK took charge and hosted a summit for 40 countries on April 2nd. Their goal is crystal clear: build a united front that uses diplomacy and economic pressure and stay as far away as possible from the military option Washington seems to favor. And this table really just lays out the whole standoff perfectly. A military solution, most key allies have rejected it. The diplomatic strategy, that's now being handled by this new UK-led international group. And of course, the big wild card hanging over all of it is President Trump's threat to just ditch NATO if his partners don't get in line.
So it all comes down to this. The White House has set a deadline of April 6th for things to potentially escalate. With its oldest allies actively working on a different plan and the rest of the world picking sides, the final question is just unavoidable. Is Washington about to act alone,